We're going to scoot over this way because I think you have some slides with you today. I love this segment, by the way, just so you know. I absolutely love this segment, but you do blow my mind and pretty much everyone else that's watched so far.
It's the goal.
It's been crazy. So what are we going to be talking about today?
All right, so today, I've got a question for you.
Oh, God, here we go again.
What's the most important thing when you're playing a game? What's the thing?
Winning.
All right, so what best determines what you're going to win, how you're going to win? What best determines if you're going to
backstabbing the
win?
people I'm playing with?
All right, so backstabbing the people you're playing with. Anything else?
No, I don't know.
All right.
I feel like this is a trick question. You're going to be like, no, it's about playing your cards correctly.
Well, it is kind of a trick question. The single most important thing that's going to determine whether you win or lose a game is knowledge, right? If you know more about the game state, the past, the present, and the future state of the game, you're going to be at a greater advantage to win the game, right?
Yeah, like we talked about last week with the random inherent, I remember that word, fate properties and stuff like that.
Random
so
inherent fate properties,
if you
metaphysics,
kind of
and
get
stuff
what
like
you're
that.
getting.
Right, so if you understand the difference between dice and cards and a bag of beads and stuff, if you have a better understanding of the metaphysics of that, you've got an advantage, right? Just like if you've played Monopoly, you know all the cards in Chance and Community Chest. You've got a knowledge advantage, right?
Okay.
In fact, there's a lot of games that the entire purpose of the game, the entire focus of it, is knowledge, hidden knowledge and revealing knowledge. For example, Clue. Clue is a game that's all about knowledge, right? So if at the beginning,
it's about guessing, kind of. You kind of got to figure it out. It was the hammer with Colonel Mustard or whatever.
so that's exactly it, though, right? It's the entire purpose of the game, right? You can try and go the guessing route, or you can go the deduction route. But the game is all about knowledge. It's all about hidden knowledge and what you can know and what you can't know, right? There's also Mastermind. Mastermind is a classic game, and the one with the little pegs, and someone tells you you've got 2 correct and 1's in the right place.
Yeah.
That's the that means like, yeah, I've
I've played it before, just like Guess Who.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so all these games, right, what they're all about is knowledge, right?
Okay.
They're all focused on, so for example, at the beginning of a game of Mastermind, if you knew what the 4 dots were behind their shield, you just go, I guess those dots, and you win, right? Knowledge becomes the ultimate power in that game. And it's more overt in like Clue and Mastermind, but it's true in pretty much every single game. And what we're talking about right now is epistemology. What we're talking about is what is true and what is truth, and what is known and what is knowable. All right?
I like your look when I'm still trying to wrap my head around epistemology.
Epistemology. Epistemology. It's a big, long word, but what it really just says is what is true and what can you know.
Okay.
So let's take three games for an example. All right?
Okay.
Let's go with Flux and Go
Love Flux.
and Poker.
Don't know how to play poker. I don't think I've ever played Go.
But you've got the idea of poker,
Yeah.
right? You understand kind of it in concept,
Yeah.
right? So Go, are you familiar with Go? All
No.
right, so Go is this Chinese, it is
Oh,
the
it's
single
the
most
little weird star-looking thing with the checkers, right?
close. You're thinking Chinese checkers.
Oh, so close.
Go is the single most popular game on the planet, and it has been for
Like 3 decades.
centuries, almost millennia.
3
Well,
decades.
anything that the Chinese do is the most popular thing on the planet. So you've got this board and it's got these stones, and you put them out. The point is that there is no hidden knowledge, right? Everything that can be known is sitting right there in front of you. The only thing you don't know is what I'm thinking. The only thing I don't know is what you're thinking, right?
It's not a whole lot sometimes.
My point is that kind of on this epistemological spectrum, ooh, check that out, epistemological spectrum.
I think you just made that up.
I make all this stuff up. On the epistemological spectrum, there's a lot of truth, and there's a lot of things that can be known, right? And it's all right there in front of you. Then you've got poker, all right? In poker, you know what's in your hand. You know what's been played, right? You don't know necessarily the order of cards in the deck, although it could be known if you were able to cheat and look at them, right? And you don't know what other people have in their hands, but if you've been counting cards and you're really good at holding that in your head, you can kind of guess about what's going on. And then there's also the tells that people are giving, right? The way that they're acting, the
Like
kind
poker
of bluffs.
faces. Bad poker faces. Like, I'm going to win.
So in terms of this kind of epistemological spectrum, right? You've got Go, where there's lots and lots of knowledge. And then you've got Poker, which has some knowledge. And there's things that you know to be true. You know the number of cards in a deck and what cards can and can't be in the deck and stuff like that, right? But there's also a lot of stuff that's hidden. You don't know the order of cards in the deck. You don't truly know what's in people's hands until they're revealed. Again, it's a lot of revelation. And in fact, a lot of cheating in poker comes from trying to gain an epistemological advantage and trying to gain a knowledge advantage, right? And then you've got Flux. For those of you who haven't played Flux, Flux is a game where you've got a bunch of cards. You can see some of them on the side of the screen. And
That's easy. It's draw a card, play a card, and the card you play can change the rules.
But a neat thing about the game is that it starts without a goal, right?
Yeah.
You have no goal. During the course of play, the rules change, the goals change, the things that you have in play change, you swap your hands around. Epistemologically, Flux is as close as you can have to a game that actually has rules while still totally ripping stuff apart, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you start with so what is known at the start of the game, right?
Draw a card, play a card.
But you don't know the goal.
Yeah, because you have to set the goal as you go, and it changes depending on who plays it.
Although technically, if you know the deck well enough, you know what the possible goals are, but that's not a really huge advantage in the game.
No.
And then in terms of what is true and what is truth, so let's ignore what is truth. That's really more of a deeper philosophy. But what is true are the things that are in front of you and the things in your hand. But there's a lot of stuff that aggressively works against that too. Like there's cards that people can play that say, pass your hand to the left, pass your hand to the right, take all the cards, shuffle them up, deal them out again, right?
Shake it all about.
So my point is that there's this kind of epistemological spectrum in games. And if you look at games and you ask yourself, well, what is true and what is truth, what is known and what is knowable in the game, you can start asking really interesting questions about the game, and you can start doing really neat things in terms of game design.
Okay. Like what?
All right, so for example, Go, right? No, not Go, Flux. At the beginning of the game, there is no goal, and then a goal appears, right? In a video game sense, right? All right, so in a board game, you've got truth and knowledge, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so things that are true are things that are factual that you see in front of you, right? Things that are true, rules can be said to be true. So, you know, in this game, we draw a card, we play a card, right? And then what is known are the things that are obvious and apparent to you, right?
Yes.
Typically, there's going to be a really strong hewing or strong pairing of those things. Something that is true is typically also something that is known, right?
Okay.
However, not all things that are true are known by all players. My hand is true, but is concealed to me. But it is not known to you, right? I'm getting somewhere. Trust me on this one. Known and then knowable, right?
Mm.
My hand is not known to you, but it could be knowable. You could reach across the table and go, ah, show me your hand. Ah, holy cow. Gavin's gone crazy.
Like how you scream like a girl.
So, the point is that, all right, so there's truth, or what is true,
Uh-huh.
and there's what's known and what's knowable, right? And in games, it kind of becomes really apparent, but in computer games, you can do wacky stuff with this, right?
Okay.
You start with a game, you say, hey, here's the rules of the game, right? And you're moving around, you're jumping on platforms, whatever, right? But the game can change what is true behind the scenes without telling you it. And that's something that's very hard to do in a board game.
In a board game. So how would you, at a design point, use this if you're looking at a board game?
All right, so in terms of a board game, all right, hey, guess what I've got in my pocket?
Oh, it's safe.
All right, so it's a deck of cards, and it's got numbers on them, 1 through 9, right?
I'm totally cheating.
We're going to play a quick game. Well, actually, here's the game, all right? So we're going to take it, we're going to shuffle it up because you just cheated. All right, what's the top card, 1 through 9?
Purple.
Name a number, 1 through 9.
8. Oh, it's a 1.
You're wrong. I'm going to guess 7. Nope, I got a 4. All right, now we're going to change the rules of the game.
Okay.
You're allowed to look at the top card before you draw it. All right, what's the top card?
1.
Woohoo, you got it right. 3. Nope, I got a 2. All right, we're going to change the rules of the game again. You're allowed to look at the top card before you draw it. What's the top? Oh, you're allowed to look at it first. All right, now we're going to shuffle the deck. What's the top card?
4. 2.
All right,
I
so
got robbed.
there's a point here, right?
Yeah.
Which is that in that second version of the game, you had a massive epistemological advantage over me.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't going to win because you're just like, I know the card, right? But if you take it and you put a rule in there, right? I go, all right, you're allowed to look at the top card, but then sometime between the time you actually make your guess and not, the deck gets shuffled. There's no relevance to it, right? The only advantage that you got is that you know that there's another 4 or 7, whatever, somewhere in the deck. And as the deck gets whittled down, then you gain more knowledge. The point I'm making here is this, is that, as a designer, you have to be aware of when you give your players an epistemological advantage, and then you have to make sure that you're not going to go ahead and sabotage yourself with that. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense, actually, because it would be really dumb to go and say, hey, look at the top card, and then shuffle it back in.
But the thing is that sometimes designers do exactly that. Not necessarily as obviously, right? Did I ever give the example of a gun that you fire 5 times and 1 out of every 5 shots
Yes.
does double damage?
Yeah.
I was thinking about that, and something that would make that awesome, right? So there's the random one where it's just a 20% chance each time. So you could go double, 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 double if you're just really, really lucky. Or you could do it like a deck of cards where you go nothing, nothing, double, nothing, nothing, right? But it would be really cool, I think, if you were using that gun as a designer to say, hey, we're going to show you how many shots you've done that haven't had double damage yet, right? And that way what you can do is you give players an epistemological advantage. You don't make them have to suss it out on their own. You're overtly telling them, and that makes it a strategic game.
Nice.